Welcome to the Opportunity Podcast, where entrepreneurs come to learn from real buyers, sellers, and industry experts on the lesser-known growth opportunities to build their online business empires. We'll uncover tactics veteran online business entrepreneurs have used to build, buy, flip, and sell their way towards personal wealth. Sit back, grab a coffee, and get ready to uncover hidden growth secrets. The Opportunity Podcast starts now.
Welcome back to the Opportunity Podcast, your go-to resource for hidden growth opportunities throughout online business. We're your host. I'm Sarah.
Hey everyone, this is Brandon.
And thanks for joining us for our newest episode.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here today with us. We'll be speaking with Bill Sabrek, who has purchased a content site from our marketplace and a more recent affiliate site in the health and fitness niche that has been doing amazing even during this current global pandemic that we're facing.
Yeah, Bill is going to go over how he was able to navigate things like the recent Amazon Associates commissions update, what it's like to be a brand new buyer, and the opportunity that affiliate and display advertising assets offer newcomers to the online business space.
Yeah, a lot of great information here on this episode. But before we give away too much, let's dig in and figure out what Bill has to share. And then at the end of the episode, we'll go over some of the best listings on the Empire Flippers marketplace that highlight the growth opportunities we've learned about here today. Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to the Opportunity Podcast. Today we have a really special guest. It has purchased a few sites from us, and we'll get into that in just a bit. His name is Bill Sabrek, and he's purchased a content site and affiliate site from our marketplace. So thanks for coming on the call today, Bill, and it's really nice to have you on and talk about your experience.
Thanks, Brandon. It's really exciting to be here.
Yeah, it's nice having you. So before we get into the meat of the questions and a bit of your experience from purchasing a few digital assets from our marketplace, first, why don't you give our listeners kind of a general introduction to your background and where you got started in the online space?
Okay, sure. I am the quintessential corporate cog. I went to school, I got a job in corporate America, and I've worked in corporate America most of my life. But then probably around 2013, 2014, I started hearing and reading and learning things about the whole online business world and that you can make money online and, the old passive income lure. But it wasn't really until 2017 that I started I consumed mass amounts of quantity. And at that point, I was ready to do everything. I was going to do a travel blog. I was going to do FBA. I was going to do drop shipping. I have an affiliate site. I was going to do it all. Learn that mistake quickly, focus on one thing. The whole point was hey, I'm going to quit my job in 90 days and make $1 million a year. And, that didn't happen because that never happens.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's such a good advice. It's so easy to get shiny object syndrome, I think, especially in the online space. I like it that I'm getting a sense of your initial excitement for this idea, but did you have any sort of trouble selling that to the community around you, family, friends, going, you know what, I'm going to leave it all. I'm going into online business. And were they like, what is online business?
That is 100% true. I had one distant friend who had started a franchise with his brother, but outside of that, everyone looked at me like, I don't understand. What are you talking about? And I actually had to proactively or I had to adjust because I would start talking to family members and they would just no, you can't. There's too much risk. You need health insurance and you can't quit your job and do this. And I finally realized, okay, I needed to surround myself with more like-minded people. So I did make a concerted effort to try to find people who were entrepreneurs and whatnot to start talking about this because it was more motivating. Talking to people who didn't understand it and all they understood was their typical day job. And I hate to say 9 to 5 because nobody works 9 to 5 anymore. It's 8 to 7 or 8 to 6. But they just didn't understand it and they just thought you were crazy and it was just demotivating.
I do have one question for you, Bill. So as you're doing some research and you're starting to tell your family a little bit about this idea you have, was there any resources or any content that you found online that really stood out to you and said, oh, this is something that's actually, feasible, something that, people are actually doing and it's real? Was there anything that stood out to you from that initial stage of doing your research in the online space?
There were. One was a travel blogger who I had just happened to cross paths with her website researching for a trip I was taking. And I realized she was making money off it. I'm like, you can actually, she's just like, it seems like a normal person. She's making money off of this. And then as I kind of went down the typical path of beginners, following different podcasters, smart passive income, niche pursuits, side hustle. So what really got me though was one of those podcasts led me to you guys, and I listened to the Web Equity Show. And I think it was season 2 where they talked about how to buy a website or buying your first website. And I listened to that. I listened to the whole series twice through. And you know what? They made it approachable. They made it seem like I can do this.
I love that. I'm sure Ace and Justin would be thrilled to hear that you listened twice through and you were like, okay, I got this. I can do this now. So I guess
it helped me mow my lawn for about a month. It's what I listened to while lawn mowing.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Podcaster would actually make me do things like cooking and cleaning and anything else I would normally, put off. If I can reward myself with a podcast, it gets done. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who actually has to motivate myself that way. Real quick on that note, so it sounds like I love this journey that you had. You decided to take the leap. You're going to buy an online business. It sounds like you were trying to get out of the 9 to 5 or even 8 to 7, as you say. But, talk to me about this point that you reached where you went, okay, I'm going to buy a business and it's going to be a content site. I'm curious, what sort of boxes did a content site really tick for you?
That's a good question because, as I mentioned, I wanted to do everything. And I actually really thought for sure I was going to do a travel blog because I'd really been bitten by the travel bug. And I started headed down that path and it seemed like more work for me. I enjoyed the travel. I didn't necessarily enjoy pressure of having to write about it or basically research it while I was doing it. But I bought a couple of courses. I think it was 2018, end of 2018. One was affiliate course and one was an FBA course. And I really dug into FBA. And as I got further along and learned more about it, I just decided that starting this journey, I don't want to deal with something that requires typical customer service, mostly because I was still going to have my day job and I didn't want to have to be able to be available for dealing with customer service issues throughout the day. And I know a lot of people, they're fine with that. It just wasn't something I really had a lot of love for. So that got me, okay, affiliate was really the way to go. And I started following Doug Cunnington and Income School, and their perspectives just made sense to me. Like, oh, these are just normal people and they're doing it. So, and then I do have some experience in writing and my career has been in IT this whole time. So I felt like affiliate was a comfortable environment for me to build off of because it was just natural for me to go there.
I love that you were able to find a business that sort of leaned on the skills that you already have. I think even as people get into the online world and they're thinking, okay, I want to try this out, they don't always realize that they actually have a lot of the skills that they need to take over a business, even if they're brand new. So very cool that you made IT and writing and just kind of a passion for these different niches work. So when you came across the site on Empire Flippers, obviously the site that you were going to eventually purchase from us, what stood out to you about it and what potential did you see there?
Well, as I've mentioned, I was all about affiliate. And so it's kind of funny. The first site I bought wasn't even affiliate at all. It was just display ads. So it kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting to go there. Honestly, the business analyst at Empire Flippers really helped a ton. Like I had multiple calls with him and I was debating, like at that point, I had been looking for a site for 7 months. Because this was my first site, I was like, I don't want to take any chances. And that's kind of what appealed to me about this site. I wanted something that had been around for several years. The traffic was either steady or increasing and the revenue. And this one, it was solid in all of those things. And so I was like, okay, I feel like I know what I'm doing, but just in case I don't, this seems like really low risk for me to completely screw it up and throw away all my money. And so that really is what did it for me. It just felt like a safer investment. And in fact, I had heard I wish I could remember who I heard this from, but it was on a podcast interview and someone said, how much time do people spend researching stocks or mutual funds that they purchase? And how much time do people spend researching a website they're going to buy? Like it's night and day. Like people spend either no time or just a couple hours on stocks, but on a website, you'll spend days or even weeks or months. And so it's almost like it's lower risk to buy a website than certain stocks in some scenarios.
Yeah, that's a really solid point, Bill. And doing your due diligence on these types of businesses, you are going to be spending a lot more time digging into them and making sure that it is worth the investment for you based on your business goals and what you have plans moving forward with the asset. But I'm interested to see some of the differences in how this business has grown for you at the time. And we'll get into a little bit more details after this question on in the current status of this business. But so this first content site that you purchased from us, that's in the entertainment niche for our listeners who are interested. And so right after you had acquired this business, or maybe several months after that, you were able to double the revenue. Now, how were you able to do that and get that type of return within after a few months of owning this asset?
I have no idea. No, part of it is what actually I keyed in, and I mentioned this when I was looking at the site. One of the things that was attractive to me about it was it looked like a lot of the content was outdated. And so the first month I did nothing with it. I dug under the covers. I tried to figure out everything about it. There were in the neighborhood of 50 plugins. It had a decent amount of content. So I went through and I learned how everything was working. And after that first month, I just said, okay, well, here's all of the content that needs to be updated. And I just methodically started going through it and updating it, modernizing it, making it more accurate, providing more data. And some of the tables were a few years old. So I put in, current dates and whatnot. And then after I got through all that, it was a niche that I was at least a little interested in. So I ended up just pouring a lot of content out into it. And there were areas, the content I put in, I was really, I wanted stuff that I knew I could rank for and had a lot of searches. So I focused on that. And I found a few areas that worked out really well for me and helped the traffic grow. And then I think another big key thing was I worked with Mediavine. The site was already on Mediavine, but I reached out to them and I was able to make some improvements to how the Mediavine ads were displaying and where they were displaying and how that was set up. And RPM increased by probably on average 25 to 30%, which I think was big. And in fact, it was really exciting during the holidays. I had RPMs that had virtually pretty much doubled from what the averages were. So I had a couple of really nice months there.
Yeah, that's a solid takeaway. And I'm pretty sure what you're referring to in optimizing your ads is conversion rate optimization. For our listeners that might not be aware, that's usually a pretty safe bet that you can optimize your site with this type of approach and get some positive returns within a short amount of time. Now, that sounds amazing. It seems like you've done some on-page SEO and you improved some of the articles, updated things like that. But also, since we've spoke right before this call, we've noticed that you had mentioned that the business hasn't been doing as well as it was from the last time we spoke during our buyer ROI call. So can you give us a little bit of insight as to what might have happened? We understand that there's a global pandemic and everyone's feeling the effects of this across the board, not just in online assets, but everywhere in the world. But yeah, maybe paint us a picture on what you think might have happened in part to this recent decline.
Yeah, it's completely pandemic related. As you mentioned, it's the entertainment genre, and it's predominantly an in-person, usually group kind of activity or event. And so since that just dropped off a cliff, so did my page views. And then along with that, the ad agency or ad revenue decreased, both from how much ads pay per view across basically the entire internet. So add those two things together. Now I was happy that the ad revenue, or at least the RPM, the payout per 1,000 visitors, it didn't crater as much as the audience did. My page views went down probably 85 to 90%. And if you look at Google Trends, it matched the Google Trends perfectly. So, aside from trying to figure out a pivot to additional content that I could add to it in a somewhat aligned way, to me, it's just like, okay, I just need to sit and weather it through. I still think it's a solid site. I'm still earning about 1% a month ROI. And so, once a vaccine hits and people start going out and doing activities again, it's going to have confidence it'll bounce back up.
No, I mean, it's good to hear that you're holding out, and it looks like there's going to be some hope for the future when things reach or get back to normal. Now, of course, on the flip side, I think what's also really exciting is from what I hear, you have another affiliate business in the health and fitness niche, and it happens to have been rising in the COVID era. So it's kind of interesting. You have on one side, it's like it's been affected negatively, but then the other one is skyrocketing. I don't know if that's safe to say. Can you just kind of introduce me to that and what's going on there?
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned, this was my first foray, and I was like, I want something that is low risk. But by the end of last year, I mentioned I had really built the site up I bought. It was doing better. So I was like, all right, I know what I'm doing. Let's get another site, get me closer to being able to leave my day job scenario. So I picked another one up, and this one was straight affiliate. I bought it from Empire Flippers late 2019, early 2020. And stay-at-home traffic really helped me there. I just was very fortunate. I was in February, March, most of April, I was seeing November, December numbers on traffic and income. So that was really exciting to me. And then Amazon did their thing and they cut the commissions in late April. So,
oh yeah, it's good old Amazon helping their platform grow their affiliate program, right?
At the best time.
Actuaries. Yeah, they got actuaries. I feel like they balance their numbers and they know what they can do. So The good news to me, though, is I still, based on what the projected monthly income was going to be, the growth I've had in it, I still haven't fallen below that. So the multiplier at which I bought it is still accurate and even shortened a little bit because of how well I did the first 3, maybe 4 months I've had it. And not only that, like I haven't really started growing this site yet. There's, with the pandemic hitting, my other site taking a hit, everything going on, my focus has been a little scattered. But I kind of did the same thing with this site where I went in and I updated the existing content, improved it, maybe did some more internal linking, fixed some of the affiliate stuff. And then it's only recently that I'm starting to pour some new content into it. So I think it's going to just keep growing. And it was a good lesson for me to not have all your eggs in one basket.
A very important lesson indeed. This was a question that I wanted to ask you later, but I think it kind of fits now. Do you find that having two businesses together and basically not putting your eggs in one basket, has this been like, if you found it to be a good experience, is that alleviating any kind of stress for you? Or I don't know, maybe that's the complete opposite in your eyes. But, for people out there thinking, I think I'm ready for a second business, but is that the right way to go? I'm just kind of wondering what you would say to them.
It kind of depends on how you're running your business. If you are the core of your business, it's all about, maybe it's your membership or your readers and really you're resonating with who you are as a person, that's probably going to take a lot more of your time. But other content sites, like I'm planning it as more of a business. My different niches will vary. I want to have interest in all of them, but I don't have huge interest in any one to be the personality that's constantly in front of people or whatnot. So if you're approaching it as, from the business perspective, I want to have an FBA business or affiliate business. So from my path, I'm owning these different businesses. So I actually plan to get more as time carries on. I want to have a stable of websites for a few reasons. One, all of them will plateau at some point. There's only so far you can go in some of them unless you're in a really, really broad niche. So having a different variety. And then additionally, at some point, I expect I will sell one or more of the sites to fund larger sites. Because ultimately, my goal is to leave my day job and run websites as my career. So for people looking to get into multiple sites, I think it's really important because, as you've seen, if you're at Google's mercy, you're at a virus's mercy, you're at Amazon's mercy, you're at a lot of people's mercy, the more you can do to mitigate those risks, the better off you are.
Well, I think it's such a valid point that you might be at the mercy of a lot of large players in the online space, but as you can tell, we're at the mercy of a lot of unpredictable players in our normal daily lives. Having an online business with your normal job, I can imagine that's just an amazing, a little bit of a blessing during this time period to have a bit of extra money coming in, or you know that you have something on the side, whereas maybe other people who are still have this normal job that might have been affected by COVID, it's going to be pretty stressful. I think you just answered this. I want to make sure it's clear, like you're using these businesses as just side and passive income until you can leave your normal work, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, my whole intent was to maybe shortcut it all by buying sites, and it would, I would move my income generation up earlier, but I was kind of on that path until COVID hit.
Yeah.
Also, I am really risk averse. So the fact that I'm able to manage these businesses on nights and weekends while I still have my day job, it's just made sense for me to keep the day job. Plus, I came to the realization that keeping the day job enabled me to buy another website.
Yeah, that's a really great point that you bring up, your business goals. And it's very important, I think, that entrepreneurs have business goals set in writing and paper, wherever you can keep that to hold yourself accountable to those. Now, I'm curious to find out, Bill, so how has owning these businesses impacted your life? I understand you have a normal 8 to 7 job, as you had mentioned, but has there been any other changes or huge impacts that these businesses have helped to better your life, having acquired them?
At risk of sounding like a salesman, like it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot. And maybe it's just the change of pace from my normal types of jobs I've had over the years. I think a lot of the part that's impacted is the fact that I do have control over my income. If I work extra hours, unless you're in an hourly job that's paid hourly and allows overtime, you could work 60 hours a week and you're not going to make any more. But I've straight up seen the more time I put into these sites, the more it benefits me, predominantly financially. And the other thing about getting in, I didn't even think about this when I started going down this path, but being involved in website ownership and entrepreneurial side of things, I've met a lot of interesting people and had a lot of invigorating conversation that just doesn't really exist in corporate America very much. It's just a nice change from your typical interactions where it's people complaining about their companies and their jobs versus now being in this field, you're talking to people who are excited to grow their own business. And it's just really motivating.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. When I was back working in a factory building pneumatic pumps, I wasn't really surrounded by others that were motivated or really excited to go to work every day. But now having started working online and traveling remotely and going to different meetups and co-working spaces, you get that sense of people really excited about this industry. Yeah. They're willing to learn something new every day. And as you had mentioned, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And what better to have a job per se that you enjoy doing? It's at that point not really a job. So I'm interested to hear your take on this, Bill. So what advice would you give to our listeners that maybe they're thinking about purchasing their first online asset, or maybe they've got their first online business currently and they've just acquired it? But as far as what advice you would give in navigating a decline similar to what you've experienced with your content site in the entertainment niche?
The growth and decline, I think, kind of go hand in hand. A lot of people say that you learn more from your failures than your successes. And I do believe that's true. But also, like when you're having growth, when you have good times, be smart about it. The more you can figure out why something is growing, the better you can grow it. And then that knowledge and that perspective and that information can help with a decline like this. Like, for instance, I intimately know my content site so well that it's like, okay, with the entertainment niche, just let it autopilot for a little while. Just do the bare minimum to keep it going. Because I know that the opportunities really exist on the second site I bought. So during a decline, knowing as much as you can about your business, your industry, and the way your sites work are really going to help you. And other good thing about a decline is you feel like you've gotten your membership to a private club because so many people have suffered through different things. You're like, I didn't want to be the one person who's like, everything's been perfect for me my whole journey, because no one's going to like that story. You want to know there's been struggle, and now I had some struggle, but I'm trying to make the best of it. And I think I'm doing okay so far. And diversify. Yeah, I know we talked about this already, but anyone, if it's your first business, focus on that with the intent to diversify, be it whether it's multiple sites or even different revenue streams or different affiliates. The second site I bought, it wasn't 100% Amazon, so my decrease wasn't as bad as it could have been.
I like that you look at it as a badge of honor. You're in the club now. And like you said, you can't be an entrepreneur if you haven't failed, right? So it would just be, it doesn't count. Now you have something to talk about at the next entrepreneur meetup whenever we meet up with people in real life again. So, kind of a wrap-up question. I wanted to talk about the future and your goals for these businesses, but I know you did address that somewhat. It sounds like, there's potential to sell, that you're going to be focusing at least a growth on the second business. I had a thought come to mind. It's a little vague, so bear with me as I bring it together. But
No worries.
Who would you like to be in like 10 years' time because of the decisions that you made in these past few years acquiring these businesses? Is it somebody who's got like full-fledged portfolios, has their own consultancy, has a ridiculous amount of free time? I don't know, I'm making that up, but I mean, and this is a very like a high level kind of question, but yeah, I'd just be curious because I do think there's a cause and effect here to what you do today and who you are down the road. So just wondering if you think that these online businesses are taking you in an entirely different direction.
That is a good question, because when I first got into this, my whole thought was, I'm going to have passive income. I'm going to work 2 hours a week and I'm going to make $1 million a year and life is going to be fantastic. But what do you do with all that time? Unless you are making $1 million a year and you just want to flaunt it, you need to figure out what to do with that time. And I forget, Sarah, if you or Brandon mentioned this, but the fun part of it is like, if this is work, this is fun. You'd maybe not even retire from it. So for me, I definitely don't want to be back in a world where I'm working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. So I don't want to be one of these magnets that is running an industry that has 15 or 30 employees and all this other stuff. Probably solopreneur, but maybe an employee or two, or maybe, using all contract work or virtual assistants. So that's kind of where I would see myself. I don't know that I've answered Brandon's question about my future goals, though.
No, that's a solid point. And as you had mentioned, it's something that you enjoy, something you enjoy doing. And to be that hamster on the wheel in corporate America, or your 8 to 7 job, in hopes to one day make $1 million is not really the goal. And I have a quote from Tim Ferriss, I'm sure most of our listeners might be familiar with. It's, the dream is not to have $1 million in the bank. It's the idea of the time you will have from having that financial capital. And really, in retrospect, you think about it, you can make time for the things you love now and still make money from it. It's not necessarily the goal to be a millionaire, I guess. It's more of the time you get from that perceived idea of having that much money in the bank.
Yeah, it reminds me of something else he said, which is that a lot of people don't necessarily desire to be millionaires. They desire to experience things millionaires experience.
Exactly.
And you mentioned something too, as far as time. That's one thing I've done is, with the stay at home and the pandemic and everything going on, I've doubled down. I'm like, okay, if I focus a lot more and do a lot more work now when I can't do things and I can't be social and I can't be traveling, it's just going to put me in that much better of a position when we come out of this. So I've been trying to work harder, but also not kill myself doing it.
Yeah, it's a very entrepreneurial approach to a tough situation. I think entrepreneurs are usually glass half full sort of people. And given quarantine and given a global pandemic, it's like, okay, how do I make this better? How do I make my businesses better? Yeah, it sounds like you're on the right track.
Yeah, I don't have to drive into work. So I've gained that much time a day as well.
Oh, that's so good. So you're working from home. Oh, okay.
I am, yeah.
Oh, that's super nice. So yeah, you're already sold. You're like, I love this remote thing. Maybe I don't want to go back. I don't want to have to drive. Kind of noting something that you said earlier. I don't know if you kind of got into this, but I did want to ask, when we were talking about having to explain to other people, hey, I'm making this big life change. I'm going to go into this online business thing, and everybody's coming out and saying, don't do it. You need insurance. You need a job. I bet people right now are probably thinking about online business, but more afraid than ever, just looking at the instability of the world. Would you have any advice for people who would so love to start, but they're afraid and they find themselves being held back by other people's opinions?
For sure. So one thing I have also to kind of a thing that's come out of this is I've actually been kind of naturally fell into a coaching and consulting role, helping other people either start or build their sites. I actually have a family member and a number of friends that I've been doing this for at least all of this year and some of last year. But the thing is, if you can go into it, just thinking about it as, okay, I'm spending a little bit of time every week. I think Spencer Haas, I don't know if he coined this term, but I've heard him use the term time leveraged income. But if you help them understand that they could build this thing that could earn them income going forward for the work they're doing now, and it doesn't even have to be you want to quit your job and do that, make that a secondary thing. Do it as an alternative to investing or an alternative to binge watching an entire series on Netflix one weekend. Take it a to be cliche, a side hustle. And it seems a lot more approachable, a lot more manageable, and a lot less risk to get into it. And some of the people I've been working with, even someone in the travel niche, she doubled her traffic in May and doubled her traffic in June based on some of the stuff I suggested to her. And, it's when people aren't really traveling right now.
That's impressive.
Granted, it's not like 100,000 visitors a month kind of site, or even a 10,000, but the fact that she's fairly new and growing it, I think has been eye-opening for her that there is potential and opportunity.
Well, yeah, and it's those initial hurdles that are some of the hardest to clear. So being able to make clearing pretty high hurdles early on, I think that's indicative of some good stuff. So yeah, that's amazing.
Okay, awesome. That was really great, very insightful for this call. And, again, we really appreciate you coming on this call, Bill. Just for our listeners who are interested in like your consulting things that you're doing with, helping others, how can our listeners find you or maybe learn a little bit more about what you've been currently working on now?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on billsabrak.com. It's BILLSZABRAK. I would just recommend going to the show notes. Hopefully it'll be in there, a link. But I'm kind of setting up shop there to help people out. And generally it's a lot of beginners who are, like you said, people are trying to figure out their way in all of this. My moderate success has got a lot of people going, oh, maybe I should at least consider this.
Awesome. No, I'm super glad that you've spent some time with us today. I've certainly learned a lot. I really love your story. You definitely have a lot of enthusiasm and energy and kind of sharing your journeys, including even getting through those challenges. Very entrepreneurial, glass half full through the whole process. So I think you're going to be a big inspiration to people really wanting to be in your shoes.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to tell my story. It's, like I said, it's been fun. So I hope people enjoy listening to it and realize they can do it too. I'm just a corporate cog who's making it work.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, certainly more than a corporate cog. You are a full-fledged entrepreneur at this point. Certainly appreciate having an entrepreneur like yourself on the show. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bill.
Hey everyone, as promised, now that we've wrapped up the episode and learned a bit about navigating both declines and profits on the road to success, we wanted to connect you with some of our best listings in the affiliate and display advertising space. These businesses offer great opportunity for those looking to manage and grow a digital property of their own. So first we have 47580. This is an affiliate site in the technology niche. It has articles and reviews for various internet software. This one stands out to me in particular because it's kind of timeless in a way, and certainly I don't think it would be as seasonal because it's got an in-demand subject matter. So it'd be great for a buyer to take on if they're looking for something that is kind of future-proof. It's got 20 social media accounts, so it's quite active there. And amazingly, it's got 13 different affiliations, some of them with a 100% commission rate. So that's pretty unbeatable, 100%.
Yeah, it's not very heard of, Sarah, having that high of a commission rates with many affiliate networks these days, right?
I'd like to know where you find those hiding under a rock somewhere. Where's the 100% commission rates? Right. But yeah, so I would say those are some of the big standout elements of this business. It's no employees. It's very minimal effort on behalf of the seller to run the business. So it'd be the perfect thing for a buyer looking to get into this monetization in particular.
Yeah, and especially having those commission rates, having a great spread across social media, having 20 different accounts, as long as you have operations in place that, are systemized. And, obviously this business, if it wasn't, very, somewhat passive in a way where someone could potentially come over and take over this business, it wouldn't be on our marketplace to begin with. So it's really interesting to see this type of business that is well diversified and spread across multiple channels, on our marketplace. It does offer a great opportunity for someone that can come in and scale this business to its full potential. And it also reminds me of another business that also offers a great potential and opportunity for someone to come in and scale, which is listing number 46740. It's an affiliate and Amazon Associates and display advertising site in the pet care niche. And the business actually includes an email list of over 2,000 subscribers and, solid affiliate account contacts, as well as standard operating procedures in place, ready for you to just come in, pick up where the seller left off, and scale this asset to its full potential, already having, systems and operations in place. If you did decide to outsource or, manage the workload through a team of your own private VAs. And yeah, just the opportunity I saw in this business really does have, something that offers someone that enjoys the affiliate space, might have some experience, or maybe they'd even like to complement this business with another asset in their portfolio in the pet care niche, offers another great opportunity as well for someone to complement that business, whether it be through advertising more products through, like, let's say an FBA model, or, maybe even just adding a monetization through the email list through other products that you might offer in your portfolio of businesses. So really great opportunity with both of these listings that we've discovered here. And that does wrap it up for this episode of the Opportunity Podcast. So we hope that you've gained some valuable insight to the opportunities that digital acquisitions offer. And if you click the link in the description or visit empireflippers.com/marketplace, you can learn more about these businesses or other listings that are currently live on our platform. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave a comment and subscribe to this channel for more great content that will be released soon. So until next time, we're your hosts. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Sarah. And thanks so much for tuning in to the Opportunity Podcast.